We're going to stay here all night if we have to, so let's get started.
It's time, America, for the #1 conservative common sense podcast that's calling out all the social justice, political correctness crap and putting it on the run.
Do you think you can handle it?
So hop in and buckle up and get ready to ride with two straight-shooting, tell it like it is, ex-street cops.
And they know how to party with few inhibitions.
As they give the special interest and weak-kneed politicians a swift kick in the ass.
Wow, is that legal?
With some good old-fashioned common sense.
Bring it on, baby.
It's Cop Talk USA with your hosts, Murillo and French.
Well, hello, everybody. I'm Roger French. Welcome. I've got my sidekick, big partner, chicken dinner here. Chicken Dave Murillo.
Whatever. Hey, French, how you doing?
What are you doing, baby? I'm doing good.
Life's good. You know, the holidays are here, and family and friends abound. I'm blessed. I can't complain.
Let me guess. The beard. Ho, ho, ho. Santa?
Yeah,
Santa Murillo?
I got the beard going here.
Got the grandkid. You going to get the suit, the hat, the whole deal?
No. Yeah, one of my brothers told me to shave it off. Said I look too much like a Mexican.
Well, I don't know about that. I don't know about that. I don't know.
It's okay, French. I'm Hispanic. I can make fun of myself. The white liberals can pack it. Okay.
Oh, quit it. I'm going to have to object to that.
Yeah.
Karen's going to call in and get you. So I tell you what I'm happy about.
I know. You're basketball.
Yeah,
boys,
my bad.
yeah.
Yes. Guess I think we beat the Hawkeyes.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
yeah.
Sorry, Dana. Sorry.
Yeah.
I took him to the game with me, and he was very upset after.
Yeah. I'm not a basketball fan, but Iowa State's doing very well. I mean, they're undefeated, I think, right?
Well, absolutely they are. They're 10-0. And I think what's that put the Hawkeyes? I think they're 7-3, something like that. They're still a good team. They're a real good team.
I have no idea. You know, once again, and probably why I never follow basketball is I am nowhere near coordinated enough to run and bounce that ball without being accused.
I just want to see you run up and down the court. I'd just be pleased to see that. See Santa going up there. But no, it was a great game. It was full. I'm going to tell you, it's going to be a good season. And nobody expected that out of Cyclones.
No.
Nobody.
No, hey, congratulations to them for phenomenal work so far.
Yeah.
So far, Roger.
So far.
That's right.
It's that season. It's that season. So we've got a good show. We've got a lot of stuff going on today. You know, we've got two great guests.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I got Nicole.
Top drawer.
Nicole's coming on, Nicole Hasso. I got West Des Moines Chief coming on. Of course, you know, he's in my district, so I got to ask him, Chief, did you have trouble finding where this was at?
I'll bet
I'm going to tease him a little bit, you know. Anyway, something I want to talk about a little bit. I know you've got some things you want to go over. I want to talk about this Minneapolis shooting that involved Officer Potter up there in Brooklyn Center, Minneapolis. You know, she's the one that accidentally, and I say accidents because accidents happen. Not everything is a criminal charge in my book. No, you know, people make mistakes. They make simple accidents. You know, there's civil remedies for those. You can sue those people.
Sure.
But they're not everything is criminal, and they've charged her with that. And I think she stands a pretty good chance. But I was looking at that, and, you know, as I think about it, you know, they pulled this young man over. He's got warrants. He's got a failure to appear. He's got a warrant for fleeing the police and having a possession with a gun without a permit. Yep. So, I mean, these are things you want to be cautious. Then he decides to fight the police out of there, and she accidentally, through this, grabs the wrong gun. She grabs the revolver and shoots the guy, the young man. And you could see she was distraught. It immediately happened.
Sure.
This wasn't fixed. This wasn't anything. And the chief of police up there, he resigned when this first happened, and he said, hey, this was totally accidental. They want to classify it as accidental discharge. Now, I don't know if we're going to ban around words, but, you know, officers make mistakes. You know, it'd be like being in a squad car and accidentally backing out and hitting somebody, you know, or anything like that. But they got a mayor up there, and he wanted to make this a big deal, and he pushed this, and it's just kind
the
of
legal litmus test that they're going to have to meet, and they're not going to meet it here, is criminal intent. Okay, and there was no intention on behalf of that young officer to shoot and kill anyone, period.
And she was, and let me back up here, she was not young. She's a 26-year-old
Sure.
veteran with not a blemish on her record. So so this isn't somebody she can go, oh, we saw this, you know, they've had this many complaints. No complaints, no anything. It was accident. It was an accident. And,
but, you know, that doesn't fit the current narrative on some of these radical cities. So, unfortunately, she had dubious distinction to be employed by one. But I think she'll be okay, and I think the city will probably pay out damages. That's usually the way it works.
Yeah, well, that's what I hope. At a time it's difficult, and everybody wants to try
It's
to
a
do
rough
something.
time to be a police officer in the country, period.
So what do you got, buddy? I know you got something there.
It's been a rough week for our neighbors south of here in Arkansas and southern Missouri and what have you. And I want to just tell those folks, I know we have listeners down there, that our thoughts and prayers are with you. Up here in Iowa, we know how devastating tornadoes and floods can be. And what you experienced is horrible down there. So the state of Iowa has you in their thoughts and prayers.
That hit a number of states.
Oh,
down there,
my
didn't it?
gosh.
I mean, Kentucky's the one that I know where that factory was.
Yeah.
Hit those people.
It's bad.
And I think the first responders did a great job. They showed up and did the best they could to save some of those people, but some,
hit a candle factory down there really bad, and
Right.
I think most of the employees, unfortunately, in there lost their lives. So this is just bad on top of bad, and they're in our thoughts and prayers.
Well, it kind of seems like we're seeing more and more of that. This weather. I mean, we're going to have 70-degree weather up here. I'm kind of excited about that, but
And Jesse Smollett, he experienced some bad weather this week. It's called a verdict. Okay. I worked for the Des Moines Police Department for 34 and a half years, and I investigated crimes the last 19 years of my career. Do not file a police report that is false. That's the message here. Do not do it. If you think you're going to get away with doing that, you're wrong. The investigation will prove whether or not what you're claiming happened. And if you do it with intent to, like Smollett did, you're going to set yourself up for charges.
I just, the whole thing about that kind of floored me. It's hard telling what criminals go through their minds when they create these acts. What's the benefit? I mean, here's a guy that had money, that was successful. What's he going to gain from this?
I think he needed added attention. Plus, he wanted to be on the bandwagon right
the
now.
anti-plea or the anti-Trump.
Be a victim.
It was kind of funny. He was. I was attacked by Trump supporters in downtown Chicago that are just happen to be carrying all these things that he. At what was it? 2 in the morning.
It didn't
going
make
to
sense.
Subway.
Yeah.
And then of course he forgot the guys he hired to do this. Didn't pay them enough money to keep their mouth shut because boy, they just turned on him.
Don't have an entourage.
Yeah, well, that
something
entourage
like
gave
that.
him up so fast.
Oh yeah,
boom.
Yeah, dimed him.
Yeah, well, I mean that.
And then the thing that I was noticing, like I've said before, I'm kind of a news hound. I believe in karma.
Yeah,
okay, and if you don't believe in karma, just ask Cuomo's producer at CNN.
Oh, I saw that.
Yeah,
Did
he got arrested for some really ugly, nefarious activity.
Pornography.
Yeah, I don't know what it was, but he got arrested, and so once again, karma. She's waiting for you.
Well, between the Cuomo brothers and between who was the guy that was doing the video conferencing and playing with himself.
Oh yeah,
that guy.
Works
now you got this.
Oh,
now you got this. This producer. They got a bunch of dandies hired down there. I'm going to tell you what. And of course I saw Chris, the guy from Fox, is going over there because I guess they got job openings.
Yeah. Oh, they got a lot of job openings over there. Their ratings are in the tank.
But I did hear that was bought by an outside party who's taking controlling interest, and he wants to try to. He has come outside. He wants to try to get them to be going back to more news and actual reporting.
You mean actually report the news instead of being an activist journalist?
And pushing in there, being the DNC liberal deal. Yeah, I don't know, but he's supposedly it'll be a breath of fresh air. Let's see what happens.
Hey, like we always say too on this program, there are millions of blue dog Democrats whose voices aren't being heard.
Oh yeah,
and so we love the blue dog Dems all day long.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Hey, one good thing I want to tell you this week: we didn't have any police officers killed in the line of duty.
That's a blessing.
I mean, every week we read the names off. I didn't find any. Now, that's excluding COVID. I'm not counting COVID, but, there weren't any shootings. Nobody died in traffic accidents. And, thank you upstairs. I'll tell you that. Thank you. Somebody's looking out.
Yep.
And, if we can do that, that's great. I think we ought to do our segment.
And now it's time for
Asshats of the Week.
It's time.
Yes, it's true.
He's a real asshole. There, Dave. It's Dave. Dave, go ahead, buddy. Fire away.
In my book, this week's asshat is Kamala Harris.
Kamala Harris.
Kamala Harris. You familiar with her?
I think I know
Yeah.
about her.
Yeah. her staff are leaving her like rats deserting a sinking ship. She's not providing any leadership at all. She has nothing to offer except that god-awful hyena cackle. Yeah. I mean, the leadership from her is non-existent. And I hope folks across the gamut understand that when the Democrats themselves, she was polling at about 1% in the primary.
Right.
And you expect somebody like that you had no real interest in being your Democratic candidate for president,
right?
Then all of a sudden jumps up to the forefront because Joe Wander. You're getting what you thought you were getting rid of.
Well, I don't think they want her to run.
She can't run.
I think they're in a quandary over there about what they're going to do.
They got big problems.
I think Joe doesn't run. I could see him doing another primary. I mean, I don't know if that makes sense, but I could see it.
You're going to see conservatives on the Democratic side and the Republican side sweep the 22 elections, and in 24 we'll have a conservative Republican back in. And I'll tell you, for my money right now, and that could change, at Ron DeSantis. He's a player out of Florida.
I think I like his positions. I think Kim Reynolds has picked up some of those positions. I like the he's gone after protesters. You're not going to come down here and fool with our tourists. He's taken kind of hard stance, and I like him a lot. And I think a lot of Cuban people that have come over like him.
Hispanics are huge supporters of the capitalism in this country that made this country great. You go out and get your piece of the pie, but you got to earn it. Nobody gives it to you. Like going back to your late dad. Did somebody give him those truck dealerships and he just said thanks and ran them?
Oh, no. No. He was a self-made guy.
Yeah. The late Rod French was a shining example of the American dream.
I think he did. I think he worked hard. He started, and he actually got fired by that company. I never tell the story. He started for the company in Omaha. He worked in Des Moines. He got transferred to Omaha. He got fired by the same company. So the guy in Omaha Des Moines said, "Come on back over here. You did such a good job." So he rehired him over here. He ended up buying the dealerships, and then went back and bought the dealership that fired him.
Oh, yeah.
And the guy that fired him was still there. Not for very long. Not for very long. Anyway,
well, that's Rod.
That's your karma. The Dave Morello karma card.
Yeah.
Say, I just want to talk about next couple of weeks. What's going on? Next week we have John Quinn coming in.
Yep.
I think we've got a couple other potentials going to join us. John is the Waukee police chief, and he was at the ball game with me the other night.
I saw that.
Yeah, I take Nicole's been with me. Of course, Dana, and we like to take our guys up there and
saw that.
and do that.
I've known John Quinn for years. He's a solid. He's a good man.
Johnny's a good guy. He's retiring in a year. You know that?
Yeah, he ought to. He's my age. I mean, I'm getting close to retirement too. I mean, at some point in time, you got to hang up your skates.
When you're retired, you get pulled back in.
Yeah.
No, so we got that going on. Then obviously we're going to take a couple weeks off.
Yep.
The holidays, week after Christmas, and week after New Year's.
Yeah, and hey, we want to thank the thousands upon thousands of people who are listening to this. We're still picking up speed, and we're going to be really busy in 2022 because we're going to help elect patriots to office in the state of Iowa. We've got to turn our country around and get back to being moderate, conservative, patriotic Americans.
And obviously always be a voice for common sense.
And we're pro-police.
And law enforcement.
And I'll tell you another thing too, Roger.
We're not going to take bad politicians like a certain councilwoman in Des Moines that we'll discuss right now. But
I have a long track record of protecting police officers so long as they're right, as long as they did what they were supposed to do. And I'm going to continue doing that. And I've never defended or made an excuse for a police officer that screwed up.
Well, that's about 99 and 9
less than 1/2% across the country.
I think you got a good job there.
Yeah, we're good.
So I think, Bob, we're going to go into our next segment. We're going to have our first guest on. Not any stranger to our program. We love her to death. We support her 100%. She's a candidate for your District 3 in Iowa, U.S. Congress, running against Cindy Taxme. It's Nicole Hasso. Nicole.
Hello, everyone. Thank
Welcome.
you so much for having me tonight. I truly do appreciate it.
Our pleasure.
I had to have you back.
Pleasure.
Because we like seeing you. Of course, I like taking you. You're my favorite Cyclone basketball courtside partner. We go up there.
That was a lot of fun.
I think your son liked it. Tell me about redistricting. How did that affect? That happened since you've been on.
Yes, it
How
has.
has that affected you, or tell me a little bit about that?
Now I have 21 counties instead of 18. So
You picked up some new counties.
I picked up some new counties. So I've been definitely trying to make my way throughout the counties. I was down in Ottumwa on Friday all day. Wonderful, wonderful people. I am looking forward to making my way through the rest of the counties and just introducing myself. Was in Guthrie County last week as well.
Right. When you're out, is there a common thing you're hearing from folks about government or current government, or what do you hear when you get out and see these folks? What are they interested in?
A lot of people are really frustrated with this inflation that we're dealing with. They're seeing it at the pumps, they're seeing it at the grocery store, and for Cindy Axney to sit there and say at her town hall meeting that, we're not experiencing inflation. That's something that the Republican Party is bringing up and lying about. I'm like, okay, obviously you haven't been to the gas station or to the grocery store.
That's a play out of Biden's handbook. Oh, it doesn't. If I say it's not happening, it doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. Well, I got news for you. It kind of does.
It does. It's called common sense.
But I will tell you something funny I did notice. Up until a few months ago, her commercials that I've seen all had Biden in the commercial.
Oh, yes.
I mean, he had as much FaceTime with her as she did. And now all of a sudden, he's gone.
Crickets.
That's right. She's put new commercials out, and there's nothing about Biden in there.
But wait a minute. She had someone from the squad here campaigning for her and speaking on her behalf. So that speaks volumes as well. So that's West Coast and East Coast supporting Cindy Axney and not Iowa.
What I want to know is who from the squad can relate to Iowans? Which one of those dumb bulbs relate to an Iowan? And I'm not talking about color here. I'm talking about common sense values.
Well, it's a control thing. Big money's going to pour in from the East Coast to go against anybody who's running against Cindy Axney, because only Cindy Axney kowtows to their narrative.
Oh, absolutely.
That's why they're supporting her. It's just politics.
They tried that. Where was that election on the coast there? Was it Virginia or wherever they brought in all the heavy hitter guns and Biden went down there? They still got their butt kicked.
Yeah,
they lost.
You're going to see a lot of that coming up.
So
I truly believe that as well.
You're getting out. You're seeing folks. They're talking to them. You're getting good vibe from them. They like you. I mean,
my goodness, yes.
I like you.
So great response. A lot of people are excited about my candidacy. They're excited about the race, and just a lot of support that I'm seeing everywhere I go. And so that is just such a blessing to me. And the fact that not only do they hear my story, but they share their story with me. And that's what America is all about, is everybody has their own story. And only in America can your story make it, that you can live your American dream and whatever that looks like.
Do you get a lot of people asking about when you were in Chicago, your experiences there and how it got you to here?
Oh, absolutely. And they commend me for they realize that it wasn't easy. Of course, it was not easy. But you know what? I'm a determined person, and I'm willing to stand and to fight for what I want, and I'm ready to stand and fight for Iowa as well.
Yeah.
I got a question for you. When do you expect the Democratic Party to endorse you as a woman of color, educated, running for office? Because they're looking out for our interests.
Of course they
should
are.
be endorsed. Have they bothered to get a hold of you to tell you when they're going to endorse you? They feel your pain. Let me know. Have you heard
Karen
anything?
does. Yeah, Karen feels your pain.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Has hell freezed over yet?
You listen to them. They're the race, guardian angels for all folks with a permanent tan. It just makes sense to me as a Hispanic that they're going to endorse you pretty soon. So if you're a Democrat out there, phone in here and let us know when you plan on endorsing her.
Facetious Dave. That's what this is. Now we've got that election, but you've got a primary before then.
I do.
When does that come up?
And that's going to be in June 7th.
June 7th. So that's when you got a little infight and Republican battle going on with somebody that I think a gentleman I don't remember his name. Is there multiple candidates?
Yeah, there's a couple of candidates that are running. I'm not sure of one. She is still. I haven't heard if she's still
Maybe
running or
not.
not. So
Trying to figure
I'm
it
still
out.
focused on my race and what I'm going to do. So my goal is Cindy Axney and sending her home so we can figure out where her paycheck, her unemployment check is going to go, whether to California or to New York.
Well, I will tell you this. Hey, you talk about her checks. I saw something on the news about her doing some insider trading or not reporting trading. What do you know about that?
Well, she has been selling stock, and anyone who is in the government position needs to report any stock and any gains that they have when they sell their stock. And Miss Sydney has not been doing that.
Well,
and for someone who is in the financial industry, who has licenses, no one is above the law, Miss Cindy.
Well,
and you need to do the right thing. The SEC, everybody watches everything that you do. You have to report any bankruptcies. You have to report anything that you've done against the law. And she is not above the law.
Well, I want to say that this just isn't you and I talking, making this up. This has been reported in the news. The Register did an article on this. You talk about the SEC. I just saw they just got a new guy hired, and he's supposedly going to crack down. Now, I find that hard to believe. He'll crack down on all the Republicans
yes,
and
absolutely.
everybody else. But I find it hard to believe he's going to go after too many Democrats.
You know who's responsible for Cindy's stock exchange faux pas? Trump. Donald Trump's responsible for that. They'll get around to blaming him.
They will blame him for everything, which is so sad.
So when you talk to folks out there, what do you talk about that you're going to do in office, how you're going to help these folks? I think I know your position on law enforcement because that's kind of our main focus here is what do you do for law enforcement? Do you support law enforcement? We've talked in the past about BLM and some of those people. Yes. Do you run into a lot of that stuff? I mean, people asking about what are you going to do for us?
Yeah, absolutely. And, one of the things that I am definitely passionate about is making sure that Iowa's economy is protected. And we can't continue to tax our small businesses or any businesses right now with this human structure bill or whatever they want to call it now. Oh, we're not going to tax. It's going to be the big corporation that we're taxing. No, they're going to tax all of us, not only the small businesses and the mid-sized business and the family businesses. They're going to tax the middle class as well as the low income people. Right. We weren't born yesterday, so I don't know why they're thinking or trying to tell us or convince us, oh, this is free. This is not going to harm you at all. If you start taxing companies, that means that they have to cut back on growth. That means they're not going to have more job opportunities.
So it goes right down.
It goes down, and we are the people who are affected by that. And and China is buying up our land, and we need to make sure they're not. We have to stop them buying up our land, and they should not be in charge of our food supply. That scares me. It makes me a little nervous. And as well as, protecting life and standing and backing our blue and protecting our borders.
Backing the blue is important. A lot of our listeners, we're retired officers or people that are pro law enforcement. And, we always look for the candidates to say, I back the blue. I'm not going to let people and like some of these searching for the right word that's not going to get me in trouble.
I grew up on the south side of Chicago, and I wish we had more police officers around as a person who was a victim of a couple of different crimes. And, if it would have done me a lot of good knowing that when I called the police, they were going to be there for me. Or if I had police officers driving throughout my neighborhood, how much of a difference that would have made growing up on the south side of Chicago. And that would have cut out on a lot of the gang violence. It would have cut out on all of the senseless muggings and rapes that happen.
Now you have a son.
I do.
And you, being a person of color, and your son's a person of color, do you feel the need to tell him or talk to him about how to interact with law enforcement, or do you think it's just kind of comes? You hear this once in a while. I have to tell my son how to interact with law enforcement. Do you feel that need at all?
Actually, I teach them how to interact with people, period.
With everybody.
Yes.
Good
And
common sense.
when
You're parenting, right?
Yes.
Yeah, what a
So-
novel
Parenting.
concept. Yeah.
So when you meet someone, you look them in the eye and you give them a nice firm handshake. You don't look down at the floor. When someone asks you your name, you speak your name loudly and clearly so they understand what you're saying, and you walk in confidence in that.
Be respectful.
And be respectful. Absolutely.
And you know, if more people would do that, we don't hold court on the street arguing with him. If that person's doing something wrong, there's another way to do that.
Absolutely.
You know, you're not going to win. So, you know, that's a refreshing deal. Parenting. There's a novel idea.
Yeah, raising responsible. You know, it's a lot of fun to make a child, but the hard part is rearing them.
Oh my goodness! Tell me
Mentoring
about
them,
it.
being a parent. You know, when they grow up, showing them right. And kids all make mistakes, but
And so does parents.
Exactly. But no child should ever, for any reason, be packing a weapon. To me, that's just a total loss in parenting.
Well, I think today a lot of kids see their parents talk negatively about law enforcement, and I think that carries over a little bit to their attitudes. I think attitudes in some cases they're hardened more, and that's why I push the school resource officers being in there, and I battle with anybody about pulling them out. I've been vocal about that. Mike Moody is my buddy, and I talk to him about that all the time. And I think Des Moines already starting to rethink their deal. That's just my opinion.
And they surely do, because I truly believe this. Just having a police officer in the school makes a huge difference, because that gives the kids an opportunity to build a relationship with those police officers. And then they know that, no, they are not my enemy. They're actually here to help me. And so when they're out in a situation in the streets and they need help, they know that they can go to a police officer and that police officer is going to help.
Yeah. We've got Chris Scott coming on. I'm going to ask him about that, West Des Moines. It's been a while since I've been in school. My kids are grown, but I want to find out if that's still going on. But yeah, supporting the blue is important in our candidates, and I think there's a trend back. I think there's a trend, but they've done plenty of damage that those people out there have done damage to in recruiting, and they've done damage to that. But there's a change coming.
I've met both of Chief Scott's SROs. Outstanding men, just great cops, and one of them happens to be Hispanic too.
Well, how about that?
Yeah,
we have some pretty good ones in Johnston, just so you know.
Yeah.
You know, it's just kind of funny. Des Moines pulled theirs, but everybody else has theirs. And then what happens is sometimes you see these cities, and not just in Des Moines, but you see these cities, they complain about the suburbs having more than the inner city. Well, why don't you try following the same path and same things that they do, and maybe you'll get that. Anyway, well, Nicole, I really appreciate you coming on. Yeah. Is there anything else you need to say? Tell us about your website. Tell us how to give money. Lay that all on us.
Awesome. Thank you so much for this opportunity to be on. And if this is definitely a fight, and I am ready to fight for Iowa. I'm ready to stand up against Nancy Pelosi, as well as AOC and the rest of the squad, and just to let them know that, hey, Iowa is here and we're not backing down. So help me replace Cindy Axne and send her either to California or New York, depends on which part of the coast she wants to live.
The left coast. That's what I call it. Send her back to the left coast.
That's where she's getting all of her funding. And I am a Midwestern girl, and we need to unite and come together. So please visit my website, NicoleHasso.com, and that's Nicole, Nicole, Hasso, Hotel, Alpha, Sierra, Oscar.
To help her out, guys. Send her a little money. Help her out.
Drop a check.
That's right. We got to do the fight. Well, it was a pleasure, and it was a pleasure. Thank you for, by the way, going to the basketball game. And it was a pleasure having you and your son, and it's always great having a good son.
We'll have you back.
Any more tickets, just let us know. We are always available.
We'll have you back plenty between now and the primary.
We'll see what we can do.
Okay.
Have a great holiday,
yes.
Nicole.
Thank you.
Merry
You
Christmas.
too.
Well, Dave, we got our next guest on, and I'm excited about this guy because he's my chief, and I'm actually surprised he could find the way to my house. No, I'm just kidding.
No,
I give him a shot. But
Sorry.
why don't you? I'm kidding him. Why don't you do the introduction?
It is a pleasure and privilege to introduce our next guest. He and I were police officers at the Des Moines Police Department for many, many years, and then because he's like Chief Winger, you just know he's going onward and upward.
Quality guy.
He became the West Des Moines police chief, and so welcome Chris Scott to the program. Chris,
Hey, thanks.
Welcome,
Appreciate it.
buddy.
Honored to
Welcome.
be here.
I'm going to tell you, they don't make, if you're going to be a chief of police, you got to have something special to take that job on. And I mean, especially in today's climate. But welcome.
yeah, Chris is easygoing, smart, competent. He's a people guy, great cop too. And a lot of people forget that about a lot of police chiefs. They were very, very good police officers and came up,
through the ranks.
ladder, through the ranks, and so they really deserve to where they're at. Now, sometimes that's not always the case, but in Chris's case and Dana Wingert's case and many others, that's the case.
One thing that I notice, and Chris, I'm going to direct this to you. One thing I notice, it seems like officers today, chiefs today, the younger ones especially, seem more accessible than they used to be. I remember the Wendell Nichols days down there, and I'm going way back.
Yeah.
And you just saw him; he was like a myth. You'd see him, he'd come down, roll call, do something when there's, but you never heard about him going out to a ball game or doing. I mean, I just never heard of him. Yeah. And today you got guys like, Chris and Dana, and they're going to ball games. Sometimes they go to the wrong ball games, but they like that.
Okay.
And so I guess
Yeah, you do.
You like getting out, don't you?
Yeah.
You meet the troops.
I enjoy it. You guys know Dana and his wife Tammy. They get out everywhere.
Right.
I'm not sure I want to compare myself to them or try to keep up with the pace they
That's
go.
a fast
but
pace,
I think I think it's an expectation right now is to be out and be accessible and talk to people and represent your department. I think people want to know the people that serve them at my level as well.
Right.
So
You get out with the troops and do stuff like that. Now, you and Dave worked together for a while. You worked.
Oh yeah,
How long?
we were up in the detective bureau for a while too before I retired, and then where'd you go from there from detectives?
well, I got promoted.
Yeah, I didn't.
No. Yeah, really.
Actually, all kidding aside, they wanted me to continue taking promotional exams,
Right.
but they wouldn't guarantee me that I could stay on days.
That's
That's one of my grievances with these chiefs.
That's one of the
They'll
challenges.
promote you and send you back to patrol.
You got to go up. You got to start at the next
Yeah,
level.
I'm
But
done.
Yeah,
with
you
that.
lose. You promote. You lose that ability to pick where you want to go. It's a challenge.
Exactly.
It's a good way.
so, how big is West Des Moines? How big is that department?
Well,
Manpower-wise?
When I started here, and it was 4 years ago to the date last Saturday, we started at 69 officers, and we now have 89.
69 to 89. And you've got 3 patrol divisions or three shifts on
have-
patrol.
Yes.
Is it similar to Des Moines, 630, 230?
Very similar to Des Moines,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, like that. And then you've got a detective bureau. I mean, it's a good sized department.
It's a good sized department.
Is this
It really
is this the second largest in Des Moines or in Iowa? Would you think?
I think we are the seventh
Seventh.
largest in the state of Iowa.
I know you guys do a great job, and it's a, out in West Des Moines, a large
Suburb.
Yeah, it's a large suburb. How many people? I don't even know how many people the city is.
Depends on who you ask.
And it grows. You've got malls out here, and people come into
Right.
town and do stuff like that.
that was the biggest tee up for us to get bodies. And Captain Willis, retired, did a study before I came over. And he looked at this thing called the pull factor, and I think he, tapped into some wisdom over at Iowa State.
I know what he's trying to say.
Long pause.
We
Anyways,
understand, Chief.
He, he discovered, hey, this pull factor, and he was able to put the numbers together to really get a better picture of how big our city is. And we're north of 130 every day with people coming into our city. So
Kind of, Altoona runs into that. We were talking about that. They got the track out there, and they got shopping, and you get the people from out of town. They flood in here, and we're not too small.
I'll tell you, Chris, here's how far back I go in West Des Moines growing up in Valley Junction. In my day, if you went west on a railroad, it was a 2-lane blacktop road, and it dead ended at Grand.
wow.
The only thing still left there's a silo there that they modified on those apartments on the south side of the road.
Yeah, I think I know that's
Because if you kept going west, you'd drive into a barbed wire fence and cornfield.
Well, that's a way back when. Way back when. Hey, tell me about, and I don't know if you can talk about this or not, this Ashley Oakland case. That's been a while. It's been open. Has there been any progress to speak of?
It's a weird case.
Yeah. More leads?
It is. Since I've been here, here's what I would tell people. There's 2 cold cases we have. Ashley Oakland is one, Johnny Gosh is the other.
Yeah.
And since I've been here, neither of those cases have collected dust on them. There's always somebody calling with some information, and you have to follow up on everything.
Yeah.
You know,
Gosh, I remember the Johnny Gosh case. I was working when that happened.
Yeah.
On that
Followed
night.
by Eugene Martin.
Yeah. And so Ashley's, she was a realtor in a house, and they found her deceased in there. And it was just the weirdest thing. It was just an odd thing.
You know, they interviewed, I can't even begin to tell you how many people they interviewed. When I came to West Des Moines, that was one of the cases I want to brief on, just to see, you know, where it's at. Is there any movement? They're very confident they interviewed the killer in that case.
Really?
They're very confident, but they're just not sure which
Knowing
person
it
it
and
was.
proving it are two different things.
Exactly.
Too. I mean, Des Moines, we talked to, we had an older detective in here, and he was
John Shaver. You remember John?
Oh yeah.
John was talking about they had a homicide up there, and they knew it was the neighbor. They knew it. They just couldn't prove it. It was before DNA, and it was a brutal homicide, and those things always trouble people. And I'm going to go back. Before you were in Des Moines, what made you decide to come to the West Des Moines be chief? I mean, were you recruited? Was that just something you said, God, I want to do that?
I'm not sure how to answer that question. I got a phone call one day, said, "Hey, have you ever considered putting in for the chief's job in West Des Moines?" And I thought, okay, no, I've never thought about it before. I went home and I talked to my wife, and we agreed. Nothing. It doesn't hurt to throw your name in the hat.
Right.
So threw my name in the hat, and we continued down that road, and we made a cut after a cut after a cut. And it wasn't the last cut, but we were really getting down there. My wife and I went to a local establishment to have a drink or two, and she just looked at me across the table and she goes, "They going to give you this job?" And I looked back and I go, "I think so."
I'm afraid so.
I think they're going to do that. So anyways, it's, I love Des Moines. I don't have to tell you guys about it. You guys have been there. It's it's an awesome place to work. I've not had to look back. They've treated me very well here. We've grown as a department. I've got good city leadership. We talked about Tom Haddon. We've had some great elected officials. I feel bad for some of these departments around the state. They're just trying to hold on, not consolidate. And here we are adding 20 people to our department. We know we're going to outgrow our facility. So we have a lot of good things going on.
Recruiting, has that been a challenge at all?
Was.
Because I know some departments, I saw, I think like Ankeny was having a hiring bonus and increase. A lot of departments are doing that. Are you having to do any of that?
We have not. We dropped. I was so worried about it. We went from 120 applicants to 35. I thought we're going to end up scrapping this list and have to start over. But as luck would have it, we had some top shelf people on the list of 35.
Yeah.
And we ended up actually taking three guys from Iowa City. But we don't have, in our process, if, the cops that apply, we don't do that entry level stuff because they've already done it.
Right.
We don't make them do the physical test. We don't make them do the written test.
Right.
We do buy out contracts if they've got a contract from a smaller town, but there's no bonus. We start them a little bit higher in the salary scale. But that's it. And
have you had any come from other outside the state? Any officers, from maybe like Portland or someplace?
We've had some applicants, but we've not hired any.
Not hired any, not come there. We asked that question to Dana too about Des Moines, and he said they've been fortunate. They recruit, but some it's competitive out there. But I would say this: those 35 that applied, they wanted to be police. They didn't care, and so the good quality people didn't care. They want to be officers.
During that time, if you were applying to be a cop, you knew they were committed.
Right. Wow.
You kind of came into it, as did Dana, when there was a lot of transition from the departments being kind of, I say this jokingly, geriatric, to transitioning to a young department. Is that what you saw too when you were there?
Very much so.
Yeah.
Here in West Des Moines, absolutely. That's one of the things. I walked in the door and I looked at my executive team, which is an assistant chief and 2 captains, and knew in 3 years they could all retire. So far, I've lost my assistant chief retired, and one of my captains, Captain Barrett. Everybody knows him. He's been around a long time, but he'll retire here in March.
Yeah.
So I'm, with these 20 additional bodies that we brought in, they're all young. I mean, they're all young.
Yeah. One of your recent retirees, Travis.
Yep.
He coached in my youth football. A great guy. He's a good egg.
Top shelf.
And I went to Valley with Barrett.
Okay.
He's a Valley grad. So I'm surprised
that's
he's
how you age yourself right there.
Oh, there he goes. Yeah, he's playing David.
Nice hit, Chris.
Hey, this is up your alley, and we
Okay.
asked Dana this. We went through this a little bit. Obviously, with having officers, sometimes they look at equipment they drive and what they do. Tell us about your, the car bit. I mean, we asked Dana preference on vehicles. You guys drive Fords?
We are all Ford, the new SUVs.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you guys will both know this. There was a time when you were a cop and you'd be chasing someone down the street, and there was this comforting sound of a Ford Crown Vic. You just knew help was on the way.
Right.
Somehow they took that out of these SUVs. They don't sound the same.
They don't sound the same.
They don't sound the same. But no, they're roomy. We carry more equipment than I would have ever dreamed as a young cop in the back of those SUVs. So they're great for storing all your tools.
Right.
You still got space for your, people that you're going to give a ride to, a place to stay.
Mm-hmm.
And then, your front seat, that's your office.
Snow
There's
and
plenty-
ice. You got the 4-wheel drive.
Yep, all-wheel drive.
Yeah, and that used to be back in our day. We'd be in those Crown Vics, but buddy, you hit an ice storm or snowstorm, you might be pushing your car.
Right.
Today, you don't have that. What about have you looked at the Chevy at all? Have you been up to Carl's place and looked at his stuff?
The only thing we've talked about Chevys is we have some really big guys.
Right.
And they've asked us to consider looking at the Chevys. We haven't yet. I don't think Chevy went to government bid because I think they make more money this year selling it off of to private people. So
Got some news,
I don't blame them.
Got some good news for you, Chief.
Yeah.
Carl they have taken the Tahoe to the police pursuit capacity. And if you got some big guys, they'll love the Tahoe. We just bought one for my department, and this thing is roomy. It's got good performance and holds a high resale.
Don't they match up price-wise pretty good?
Yeah, the state bid was real close, and our buddy over at the county drives one. Kevin Schneider.
Yeah.
And he's the police officer who was one of the first officers I saw in a Tahoe when he was a guest at WHO with Maxwell and I here about a year ago. And I said, "Man, you're living large. You got a Tahoe?" He goes, "Knock it off, Murillo. It was the same price as a Crown Vic."
Well, they used to. I know you used to have a dealer here, a Ford dealer, so you do business, but you don't have a Ford dealer, I think, in West Des Moines anymore. You probably run to Stivers to do your deal.
Yep.
I would tell you this, and not that other than if you haven't had a chance to go up to that
Carl Emergency Vehicles.
Oh, that's
take
impressive.
a tour.
Yeah, go up there, have them buy you lunch, or I'll take them to buy you lunch.
Sounds good.
Or, I mean, it's
impressive.
It is. I mean, they've got more bays up there. They're turning those cars, and he's got a bunch of them.
One-stop shopping for everything
He
you
does.
need.
Sounds like I'm going to send Carl a bill now for this.
Yeah,
you are.
We're going to bill him for that. Say, hey, buddy. So since you've been on the department, and again, I go back to Dana's deal. We asked him what he had done. What were the two things that he did? He said, I did two things. I required people to wear vests, and I required them to have mental health checks once a year on their birthday. Is there anything like that you have done over there? Was everything pretty well set? Or
We've made some changes. We've added some. The traffic unit wasn't working or up and running. It was disbanded. We re-implemented that. We started another program, entertainment response unit. As we already talked about, this is a place that grows during the day and during the evening, bars, restaurants, malls, all that stuff.
Right.
So we established what's called an entertainment response unit, and their purpose on our department is to police those that come to our city.
Okay.
What was happening is you get somebody, has to go to the mall for a theft trip. Well, that's a beat officer basically. Mm-hmm. Well, how many trips are you going to make up there in a day? Well, that's pulling resources out of our neighborhoods.
Right.
So we tried to separate those services and keep fluid services both in our neighborhoods and provide services to those that are coming to the
You got that
city.
mall. You got a shoplifter 1 or 2 times, 3 times up there. Man, it's something. The other thing I was going to ask you, and we had Nicole Hasso on, and I think you heard her. We were talking about SROs. Tell me about your program. I know Des Moines did away with theirs. How's your program doing?
Excellent. Timing was bad. Dr. Ramey, the superintendent here in West Des Moines, she and I talked. They had already planned a review of our SROs prior to all the justice stuff that was going on. So timing was bad because it looked like we were being questioned. And she assured me, she goes, "That's not it. It's time we need to review our program, make sure that everybody's on the same page." I said, I'm good. We'll go through this. I'm not worried about it. Really what we found out was we failed to educate the school what we do. And when we dug into it and started to say, this is what we do, listen, we're not hiding in bushes trying to catch kids doing things wrong or stuffing kids in lockers and stuff like that. Rarely, percentage-wise, we do. That's the least thing we do is law enforcement. We're up there mentoring and coaching. We're parents, kids, staff members. You know, I made some changes when I came here. At that time, SROs were detectives. And so I met with every cop one-on-one to find out, you know, where are we at, how are we moving forward. But they loved their job, but they were probably the most frustrated or dissatisfied because when they're doing cop work in the schools, detectives were like, hey, we got cases, you need to get work.
Right.
So when they're doing cases, the school was going, hey, we need you at a school. They were in civilian clothes. They drove unmarked cars. We said, okay, we're done. We're going to do 100% in the schools in uniform with a marked car outside so everybody knows that you're there.
Right.
And zero pushback. Absolutely none. So we go through this SRO review. The school board has been very complimentary of what we're doing in the school. I'm not worried about going.
Kids aren't afraid. They probably come up to they levitate off or something.
That's exactly what they do. Yep.
I mean, Des Moines went through that where they had some parents say, "Oh, the kids are scared of it." No, they're a figure, and these guys are accessible, and I think that solves the problem, especially outside of school if they have to deal with them, interact with them out there. Maybe there's that
Absolutely.
relationship.
It's amazing to me. I was an SRO at East High School in Des Moines for a couple of years, and just the other day I had breakfast with Sheriff Leonard, Dallas County, out at Perkins, and one of the guys working there, African American kid that I had a great relationship with at East, come walking up to me and he goes, he gave me that look like, I know you. And he goes, Scotty? And I'm like, oh my gosh. But those relationships you build with the kids, it's amazing to me.
It's important.
It's huge. And you guys talked about Moody.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Our buddy Bill or Mike.
Everybody loved him. All the kids loved him. And you know, I heard they were considering getting him out. And then I heard a study that they did a survey over there, and 67% of the parents wanted to keep him.
Absolutely.
And they still got rid of him.
Well, you let a small percentage drive you. Speaking of that, has the BLM social justice folks, have they had an impact out here in West Des Moines? Have they done anything or created any problems for you? Or
no, not really. We had some protests, nothing like what Des Moines went through.
Right.
But we had our biggest one was in Valley Junction. They estimate that to be over 1,000 people.
Really?
They did a huge walk, but we had no problems until somebody saw me, because we put cops everywhere,
right,
but nobody could see them.
Okay.
So myself, Overson, Barrett, Hayes, we walked all the business. Said, we're here, we got it. If something goes south, we'll take care of it. And so we had a ready response, and I think part of it is to not allow the conflict. Not to put a cop and somebody that wanted to protest us, you know, together. That didn't happen until the end of the night, and I'm outside on my phone talking to a city councilman actually, and somebody saw me, and then they came over there and they berated me and called me all sorts of things, and so that happened a second time when they had a walk that started at the high school. And so we staffed that fire station. We had packed with cops. You know, they're not going to tear somebody's house up. So I wasn't overly worried about it, but we were ready. And we had zero issues at the end of the night. Overson's taking the garbage out. Somebody saw him, same deal.
Yeah.
They
lit
just
into him.
Yep, lit right into him. And
well,
it wasn't our first rodeo.
You're always going to have those individuals.
You know why they picked Valley Junction? Because they finally got new streets down there. I want to file a grievance, Chief. I grew up down there, and the streets were shoddy. But I drive through there every now and then just to reminisce. And I told my wife, "Look at these new streets." Everybody but me.
So Fifth Street's beautiful at night. Right now, you go down with all those lights on.
I love it. Yeah,
gorgeous. Absolutely
and as
gorgeous.
I drive down there, growing up down there in the '60s, I see different businesses that were the foundation for that.
Yeah.
Silver's department store, Stillwell grocery store. Your police department was down there.
Yeah.
I'm sure you know that. And then McLaren's funeral home, and there was all sorts of Vandenberg drug store.
The Tavern Pizza.
The Tavern. It's still there.
The Tavern's
we
still
all
there.
know about the Tavern
Pizza. You know, speaking of that retail, have you seen any of the smash and grab stuff at all? I haven't heard of any in that state, but maybe I'm remiss.
And the way they're doing it out there, out west, out left, whatever you want to call it.
The left coast, yeah.
You know, you got 20, 30 cars. They follow each other. They have a target, and then they hit it. 20, 30 cars do that here, you'd think they're probably going to go do a drag race, which would normally happen. But if they do that at the mall, they're going to stand out, and I think we'd have a pretty quick response.
I don't think those people are all indigents. I think they're driving. The pictures I've seen, these cars are pretty nice.
Yeah.
Looks like an organized effort by,
It is.
I don't know, some kids, some college kids maybe, but they hit it. But they're starting to turn that around. I think a little bit. They're filing
It's
charges on them.
orchestrated, and
It's organized crime.
the folks who are supporting it know what they're doing, and
Absolutely.
they know where to do it because they've got lackluster, spineless city leaders there who just stand back and let it happen.
I will tell you, I was on your website today, and I was so impressed at all the, it seems like donations that come to you guys from the different groups. The community really gets behind West Des Moines, don't they?
It blows me away, to be honest with you. If you have a canine, someone's going to donate. I mean,
they love dogs.
People love dogs,
Love
right?
the
I mean, they
dogs.
love the dogs. So we've had some awesome people step up, give us some great donations. There's the Emily Foundation. This year alone has donated $50,000 to the West Des Moines Police Department. It started out with one donation of $10,000 to our canine unit. The Emily Foundation was developed by Emily's parents. They're very, very private people, so I'm not going to say their names out of respect to them, actually. But Emily was a Valley student. She later went to Iowa State and later got a job out in Denver, Colorado. Well, she also had a stalker who eventually killed her in Colorado. So they created this foundation, and they've donated to our canine fund $10,000, then another $15,000 later to our canine, and we gave them a tour of the station, brought them down, had them meet a lot of people. And they just recently gave us $25,000 to use towards training. So they're awesome, but we have a lot of them.
I see those groups, and now you guys have had body cameras for how long? Have you had them
before me?
Before
so
you?
it's, I would think they got them in 2016.
We got them, and Dave mentions this all the time. My dad donated body cameras to City of Des Moines. He started that effort there in Waukegan.
I remember that.
I don't know why he didn't do West Des Moines.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but I think body cameras are such a good thing now.
Amazing.
I was so unsure of it when it first came out, but it protects the officer more.
So we looked at in-car cameras while I was in West Des Moines, in Des Moines. And I remember going to Chicago. You went through this phase where nobody wanted it. No cops wanted it.
Mm-hmm.
We go to Chicago. We found what we wanted. We want to see how somebody implemented the program. And their cops were like breaking the cameras. They didn't want these in the car. Well, now fast forward 10 years. You don't go out on the street unless you have a camera now.
Exactly.
They have saved our guys time and time and time again.
What's our acronym in police work, Chief? CYA.
Yeah, that's right.
Is there anything now that, I guess it's Christmas time? Is there a wish list that you'd like? Some things that the public could help out with the department? Is there anything that you need?
Wow, I should be better prepared for that.
I don't know. I always say West Des Moines has the nicest stuff. They're spending money over there like drunken sailors. You're going to
get in trouble.
They have the nicest plow trucks. They have the nicest, those city works guys. They really got it. But everybody's, if there was something you had more money for, I always like bringing that up in case somebody wants to write a check.
We spent a lot of money. We did buy we leased a simulator. It's a de-escalation, firearms, less than lethal force simulator. Des Moines uses it for their academy class. Other agencies come over use it. We use it. We're looking at another one right now. It'd be the first in the state, but it's a driving simulator. There's
cool.
so much liability in driving cars, specifically if you get into a pursuit. We found a simulator where actually it can certify our guys in pit as well. So we're not there yet, but we're getting close.
That's really cool.
I monitor you're quite familiar with the new state radio system, the ISIC system.
Yeah.
And we monitor the Des Moines radio traffic constantly. And today versus yesteryear, it's very common for these watch commanders to call off a chase.
Yep.
When the chase becomes overly dangerous to the innocent people around it, they will get on the air and call it. And back in our day, that didn't happen a whole lot. We'd chase them to hell and back.
Right.
And
and every one of us would get in the chase too.
Oh, yeah. And, I noticed, Chris, and I'm sure you do, the older you get, the less apt you are to hot dog it in a chase.
Oh, yeah.
You want to retire.
Yeah, that's right. Yep.
The chief, Tell me about mental health a little bit. What Des Moines everybody has crisis teams go out. Tell me about your mental health unit and how you handle mental health calls.
So new to our department this year, and this is part of, the demands from the public. We hired a diversity officer, but what we found is one of the biggest jobs that she's had has to do with mental health. We've never been in a position before where we have a ton of calls for mental health. I mean, I think you would expect that. But what we haven't had before is an officer who every day can come to work, read the watch report, identify, the mental health issues, and do a follow-up with those people to find out, okay, do they have a caseworker? Do they need mobile crisis? How can we assist them so they're not the heavy user of the system?
Is that what happens? Somebody comes out to the house, there's a crisis, a guy has her husband's off the deep end. Yep. The officers are there. Hopefully it's nonviolent. You call out somebody to come out there then.
So we utilize mobile crisis like Des Moines does.
Okay.
We do use Westcom though. Des Moines is implementing a program I'm really excited to see. I think it'll be wildly successful, but where they have clinicians, in dispatch, so that, hey, I got a mental health issue. So it's going to go from that dispatcher to that clinician in the 911 center. And then they can deal with that. They can send out whatever resources they think they need. So we'll watch that closely and see if that's something that we can implement.
Because I guess a lot of these people are, most of these calls that I went on, most of them were having mental issues. That was the problem.
Well, one of the big issues, and I know the chief will agree with me on this, is the lack of funding for this. That's been cut over the years, and they need to re-implement funding for mental health issues, and not just the issues, but housing. Places for law enforcement to take people to, because that's one of the most frustrating parts for a police officer. He or she sees a child or an adult that needs to go someplace for professional help, and there's nowhere to take them, or if there are places, they're full.
Take them to the ER room. That's what you got. I mean, that's what they do.
Exactly.
They're jail. Jail, and we all know jail's not mental health.
Jail means Meyer Hall for a little bit, unless it's
for kids,
unless it's a heinous event, because then it's called a delayed referral, where they turn them back over to the parents.
Right.
Well,
which for the kids is huge. And I think if we had better mental health response for kids, maybe we get diagnoses earlier and kids know how to manage that later. And I think that we reap the rewards of that. By now we have adults who knows they have a mental health issue, who know how to manage and deal with it. Hopefully that makes everything better in the long run.
We had Laura Roan on the program. She's going to run for Sarcone spot, and we asked her, and that was a big issue for her, was mental health. She really wants to she wants to expand that. I don't know if you probably have worked with her. She's a great person. And she's pretty sharp, and it really never, if you're not involved in it, it doesn't ring a bell to you. But after I got talked to it makes sense. It just makes sense. Most of your calls, you got to be able to do that. And you guys are pretty well funded. I mean, council supports you, don't you?
Oh, absolutely. We have wonderful council support.
I would think. I got to say, I think you're probably one of the more well-funded departments.
I would not argue that.
I know my tax dollars sure say that, kind of.
Well, you live in the Taj Mahal, Roger.
I'm in West Des Moines. He's like, you're going to
look out his back window, Chris. There's fountains by a lake.
He goes,
I about bought a house out your back window. I looked at a house over there.
You'd be catching me swimming out there.
That's a good thing you didn't, Chief, because he does his jogging in the nude.
Well, Chief, I do have to ask you a real serious question here, and I don't know if there needs to be a full investigation of this. But to some people, it's very concerning. How did the Hawkeyes get beat so badly by the Cyclones in the Cy-Hawk basketball game the other night? I know you're a Hawk fan, so that's why I had to.
So I knew that. I think Wingert went there with you.
Because he got a text from somebody to tell me to sit down. I think it came from you.
It might have been, and I also might have said we need a little bit more enthusiasm to you, but there might be some other reasons why he wasn't jumping up and down. No. Not just because we weren't giving our best game, but do you remember 1987 at Hilton Coliseum, LaFesta Road scores 52, 54 points?
I think I was at that game.
I was too, and underneath my coat was my Hawkeye clothes, and I was ready to just break it out. I was there with my basketball coach, Larry Schaefer, and I never took my coat off that entire game.
You didn't wear the whole thing.
It was unbelievable.
Well, I knew you were a fan. Dana says, He says, Scott just texted me. He says, tell you to sit down. And Tammy was on the other side of it. And it's a lot of fun. I know you kid that. And your department, do you guys, is it a 50-50 blend over there, Hawk fans and Cyclones?
Well, interesting. We've got a football player from Iowa who played. We've got a football player from Iowa State that played both offense and defensive line.
Right.
And we've got another football player that also wrestled at Iowa State, Kyle Slifka. He both wrestled and played football. They're all awesome people, you know. And so there's definitely some banter that goes back and forth. I didn't grow up a huge Iowa State fan. When I lived in Huxley, 10 miles away from Ames, I can't believe they didn't shame me out of town, right? But I'll tell you what, they have first-class coaches over there right now. Matt Campbell really and this TJ guy is phenomenal.
I love Kurt Ferentz. Yep. I love death. Couldn't ask for better. I love Matt Campbell. I love all these guys. They're quality. I was talking to John Quinn, and he ex-Iowa State athlete, ex-quarterback for Iowa State, and he says he likes hiring ex-athletes from colleges. NCAA athletes. Does that seem to be a good hire?
It's a team environment. They come. They want it. There's a sense of competition. When you're a cop, you don't. Sure. You look at the watch report and you say, "What did I miss last night?" You don't want to get beat. But some of these athletes,
we called ourselves. We were the felony car.
Well, there you go.
Two felons working together.
That's right. Driving. Anyways,
we didn't arrest any. But
I enjoy hiring athletes just because of that team environment that they're so used to, and we have a lot of athletes on our department.
Chris, one of the things I know you know this, for years, Brad Hopkins and I ran the West Des Moines Little Pro Youth Football.
Yeah, I coached in that.
And out of those thousands and thousands and thousands of kids we ran through that program, only one made it to the NFL, but boy, he did it in a large way. That's Alan Lazard. He's a receiver for the Packers.
Oh, yeah.
But he was up the road from you at the Valley Stadium playing for about 3 or 4 years as a little tyke. That's cool,
Yeah.
Cool. We had a guy on the Chris Spencer. I don't know if you know Chris. He played for Iowa State. He played for the Iowa Barnstormers. Kurt Warner's favorite target. Used to throw to him all the time. And he got into law enforcement, and he became a detective. Now he's a sergeant over in Omaha PD.
Oh, wow.
And he came on. He's a homicide detective over there. Great
guy.
Yeah, great guy. I'd like to still look. I mean, he's a great, big son of a gun, but he likes to go out and have a drink with us. He's our kind of guy.
Good egg.
Hey, I want to tell you, we're kind of run out of time, and it was great having you. I appreciate you coming out.
Honored to be here. I appreciate it.
I want to get you back on.
I told Roger, this is a class guy we got coming in here, and you didn't disappoint.
Yeah, thank you.
I've really liked this guy from the minute he got hired. And I was at Des Moines PD a long time before Chris got hired, kind of aging myself. But I could tell guys like him and Wingert, they were destined for greatness. Just good guys.
We got to get them all together. We got to have a deal or a cookout or something, get these guys together and show them our appreciation.
On the backside of Roger's house, so we can all look over the lake.
Oh, yeah. Stop it, Merle. Stop it. But Chris, thanks for coming out.
Great job, Chief.
Thank you
much.
Appreciate it.
Great job.
Chief Scott, I
West Des Moines Police Chief Chris Scott. Great job. Thanks, Chief.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, that was God, loved him.
Oh, he's a great guy.
Oh, I like Mr. Scott.
Chief Scott, Chris Scott, he's salt of the earth.
I'm gonna get him up to a game. We're gonna have a couple.
He's a great guy.
He's an Iowa fan, but I'm not gonna hold that against him. And I mean,
if you could put him into a machine that would duplicate everything about him, and we could sell them as chief of police across
wait a minute,
the nation.
you said that about Dana Wingert too.
True. It's true.
Well, both of them are.
Yeah,
they remind me of each other.
They're just easy to like. They're competent, capable, and that's quite frankly why they're.
That's my chief of police.
Yeah.
That's right here.
Yeah,
and he came out to the house and he didn't say, "Hey, we've been here before."
I'm just glad, Roger, you didn't drop a "Oh my God."
Oh my God.
Oh my
stop
God.
it.
LOL.
Well, next week we got Johnny Quinn coming on.
Be a good one.
The Milwaukee guy. So, hey, thanks for coming.
All right, keep tuning in because we bring in the big dogs for our show.
And we got the big dog Dave Murillo.
That's right. That's right.
See you, man.
See you, buddy.
You've been listening to Cop Talk USA with your hosts, Murillo and French.